So, for a few years after I became Catholic, I read St. Thomas's Summa, and I tried to apply traditional principles of moral theology to my life, guided by, among others, Father Chad Ripperger. I've already mentioned him several times on this show, and I'm very grateful for his good work as a Thomas and a priest. We should all be grateful to Father Chad Ripperger. However, for me, since my predominant fault is a subtle form of intellectual pride, teaching myself Thomism was not a good idea. Why is that? Well, first of all, it was very helpful in one sense in giving me lots of basic fundamentals. However, since I was not being trained directly by a wise man in Thomism, but rather teaching myself, this was my first mistake. For someone with intellectual pride like myself, when you try to teach yourself wisdom, it only feeds your pride. So because I'm prideful, I ended up developing my own form of Thomism, which was very abstract and divorced from the reality of the human person in my everyday life.
Let's be honest. Social media platforms are not made with Catholics in mind. They are designed to draw you into an endless cycle of doom scrolling and despair. Pelican Plus is an app made for tradition-loving Catholics. It has all the prayers you need read by real people. You can watch uninterrupted shows from your favorite Catholic creators and read top-of-the-line articles from Dr. Peter Kwasniewski. You can also stay up to date on the latest news with the Pelican Brief. So join the movement of traditional Catholics against big tech by becoming a member of Pelican Plus today.
St. Thomas likes to talk about abstract things like being itself and all that. But really, he never intended it to be abstracted from the reality of human person like I did. Now, because of my pride, I was prone to do this for several years as a baby Catholic. I'm still prone to do it. Now, young in the spiritual life and foolish, I thought I knew a thing or two because I had read a few passages from St. Thomas. In reality, I had no wisdom. Knowledge puffs up, but charity edifies. As a result of this prideful reading of St. Thomas, I was led into many sins against charity, which caused great harm. This spilled over into my public intellectual life. I remember making a video a few years ago condemning everyone who watched the Super Bowl halftime show as committing mortal sin. I did this because I had read a few passages from St. Thomas, I've read a few passages from St. Alphonsus, and then I made a rash judgment of thousands of souls. It was a terrible act of pride, and I must ask you, my brother, to forgive my prideful foolishness and pray for me. But this was the kind of sins that I fell into because I was so prideful reading St. Thomas. It wasn't his fault, God forbid. Not the fault of Thomism, but it was because I was pridefully using and abusing St. Thomas and the Thomistic tradition. Now, one day,